Next up at 4:15 is USF at Florida. Florida, who just came into the AP poll, they are coming in as the number 13 team in the country in the new AP poll right now. But this might be a trap game for the Gators. The Gators right now, like I said, number 13 in the country, legitimate college football playoff aspirations. I even have Florida as a top 10 team in the country right now. They took care of business in week 1 against Long Island University, an FCS school, with a 55-0 shutout victory. With all respect to the Sharks, this week 2 matchup presents a much more difficult challenge for the Gators. USF is coming off a 34-7 win over number 25 Boise State in week 1, really destroying any hopes for easily the favorite to repeat as a Group of 5 playoff team. If the Bulls can pull off this upset this week, they become, in my opinion, the absolute clear favorite to take that Group of 5 playoff spot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the USF has an interesting opportunity the next couple weeks. Beating Boise is a big win, but they play Florida this week, and they play Miami next week. If they were to somehow pull off one of these 2 massive upsets, yeah, they got the inside track, because that's probably the best win, in all likelihood, that a Group of 5 team would have over a Power 4 team this year. We'll see where it goes, but USF also, they've made a habit of these close games against Power 4. The last 2 years against Alabama, 3 years ago, the last time they played the Gators in the Swamp, it came down to, it was 31-28. It came down to a missed field goal from USF to tie the game at the end. That was before Alex Golesh was there. But USF has a habit once a year of turning one of these games into a slugfest you wouldn't expect. Keep in mind last year when this team played Alabama, it was a 1-score game with 6 minutes left. The year before, in Alex Golesh's first year, they lost it. The score was 17-3, but Bama threw a touchdown on the board with no time left just to make it look better. They really only lost to Alabama 10-3. So USF, you mess around, they just have a way of playing up in these games, and Byron Brown's obviously a very dangerous quarterback.
Absolutely. You have Byron Brown and the USF offense in this one, which you know when they have the ball.
A healthy Byron Brown is an extremely dangerous dual-threat playmaker. 91.3 PFF grade against a very good Boise State defense last week, and you look at what he does when he's healthy. He can beat you any which way. He's got a really strong arm in this offense that perfectly fits Alex Golesh. When you talk about Golesh, he used to be the OC at Tennessee before he had this job, so he was under Josh Heupel there. It's the same exact offense. Fast tempo. At its best, they want to run the most offensive plays per game in the country. They want to get vertical, and Byron Brown's extremely talented, especially on the ground. Even against Power 4, SEC teams, whatever. He is dangerous with his feet. 4 explosive runs last week, and that doesn't even count the one that got negated by a holding penalty where he broke 5 tackles and had, was it a 40 or 50-yard touchdown against Boise State, looking like Cam Newton out there. Byron Brown does this all the time. The rushing, he's 6'3", he's 220, 235, 225, just an absolute menace on the ground. He really is. And then if you complement that with the passing game, and I like USF's offense better. And look, Sean Atkins was a great player for him the last couple of years, but he was more of a crafty slot, move the chains threat. I really think they have something on the outside with Chaz Nimrod as more of a vertical threat. They didn't have that the last couple of years at USF to match with Byron Brown and the strong arm and to really take the top off of a defense, right? So it's funny because these two teams, the last time they played each other, they didn't, Alex Golesh wasn't the head coach. So what did I do instead? I wanted to see how Florida handles this defense, or this offense. I went, okay, then I'll watch the Florida-Tennessee game from last year. It's the same exact thing. And what Florida's going to do, they're going to sit back. They're going to sit back in quarters. They're not going to let you hit those home runs. And what they're going to hope to do is that defensive line dominates, because that's the biggest question I have for USF in this game. They've got some injuries on the offensive line. They played well enough last week to beat Boise State, but they've got to be able to hold up against Tyreek Sapp and those guys up front. That's going to be the big challenge for USF. But if they're able to do that, and they can play just well enough up front, Byron Brown can absolutely hurt you, and in even big opponents like this, he has proven he is one of the best athletes on the field no matter what field he steps on.
I would argue he's right now the best Group of 5 quarterback we have.
Yeah, it's an argument. Calandria's been great for UNLV. Obviously, Retzloff's getting it together at Tulane. There's a really good group of G5 quarterback. Parker Navarro's another one. Yeah. But Byron Brown, when you talk about just this scary level of dual threat talent, and especially the way his legs can take games over, it's a real problem, and Florida cannot be on their heels with him.
Definitely. So on the other side, it's also about the quarterback. Can USF secondary limit the deep shots from DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway is one of the most talented arms in college football right now, and he sure does love to show it off too. He led the Power 4 as a true freshman with an 8.8% big-time throw rate. His average depth of target was 11.8 yards. That was third in the Power 4 last year. This past week, he had a very good 84.2 PFF grade against Long Island University. Didn't throw as many deep shots, kept it pretty conservative in this one, but you still know that he has that kind of arm talent. Is maybe one of the most talented arms in the country, probably one of the 5 most, I would say, in the country right now. He's going to want to show it off. USF has had a very difficult time limiting explosive passing plays under head coach Alex Golesh since he was hired in 2023. The Bulls have given up an explosive pass on 17.6% of passing plays. That's the 4th worst rate in the entire country. Even against a conservative quarterback last week in Maddox Matson, who really doesn't want to push the ball downfield at all, USF still gave up 7 explosive passing plays in that game. So you go from Maddox Matson to DJ Lagway. That's a completely different ball game this week. I'm worried for that USF secondary against DJ Lagway and a loaded group of receivers that Florida's got this year.
No, absolutely. Look, it's a veteran USF defense, and I think they did look more fundamentally sound last week against Boise State, and I thought they stayed on assignment better than almost any game I've watched them the last 2 years. I think that's been an issue, is blown coverages, miscommunications. Todd Orlando had them more in sync last week, but you mentioned it, Boise State, they also didn't have the most explosive weapons in the world either. And Florida, we know, has got them on the outside. Trey Wilson, J. Michael Sturdivant, Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown. I mean, they got monsters on the outside. USF's issues in some of these big games when it gets away from them is, can they prevent those shots? Can they prevent themselves from having blown coverages and miscommunications? If they can do that and keep themselves in the game, their front 7 in these kinds of games plays well a lot. I especially like their linebackers who both played well. Mac Harris and Jalen Schuler last week had great games against Boise State. Up front, I do think their defensive front, USF can keep up in this. And I know Florida's offensive line's a monster too, Jake Slaughter and those guys, but it really is the secondary in this game that has to keep them in it. If you can make Lagway work underneath, then maybe you have a shot on defense to stay in it.
Absolutely. So, ultimately, will USF pull off another big upset against another potential playoff team in Florida, or will Florida avoid the trap game?
I think when you mentioned the contrast between Florida and Boise State, and there could not be more of a contrast between two offenses right now, that's a big key here, right? Because you're talking about an offense that can throw vertically. And I think one theme from USF's game last week against Boise, they had a major speed advantage on defense. They were just so much faster than Boise State. That's not going to be the case here with Florida, right? And you've got DJ Lagway, who was looking to sling it deep, as he always is, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Florida. The spread is 17.5. Just for my brother, I'm going to take USF to cover. 34-20 Gators.
So you're going to be on the good side of your brother and Trevor Sikkema, who's a noted diehard Florida fans and alum of that
I'm
program.
threading the needle, unless Trevor's mad that I'm not having him cover.
He might be.
He could be mad. He's like, what? Maybe Trevor might feel disrespected, but I'm riding with. I'm gonna have USF on the cover for my brother and an over. I think USF, honestly, I think offensively they can absolutely have some success in this. A healthy 100% Byron Brown, especially one that plays like he did last week. That's a problem. Doesn't matter, G5, P4, whatever. He's a problem against anybody.
Shout out to your brother. I'm also taking Florida in this one and just barely missing out on the cover. I had 37-21. I just think DJ Lagway and these weapons, you saw the catch from Vernell Brown, the 5-star true freshman. My God, they have talent in that receiver room. And with USF secondary in the past few years really struggling against deep passing plays, and you have maybe the best deep passer in all of college football and DJ Lagway with those weapons, it's a bad matchup. It's a really bad matchup for USF secondary, unfortunately. So USF still absolutely alive in the Group of 5 playoff race, but I don't think they'll do enough to beat a team like Florida in week 2. So I have Florida winning 37-21.